Hi, I am Pat Brown. I'm a comedian extraordinaire. You've heard of me. I live in a cave. I think I was on a podcast for probably a year and a half. I think that was my stint on the podcast. I really enjoy the podcast. I felt like it gave me, for one, a outlet to express myself and my ideas, and it also allowed me to hear other people's opinion. And I think as a comic, I didn't have a large network of people like you do. You go to your job in the cave, and you see you have coworkers, and you interact with these coworkers. And as a comic, we don't necessarily have that extension of other people, and so the podcast gave me this extension of people I could talk to and understand what, like, the pulse of what was going on in real world America, because these people came from different walks of life, and so just to interact with people was just really something I needed. And I'm a bit of a hermit, so I loved it for that. But I felt like too. As I was growing and trying to understand what my place was in the world, I am transitioning a little bit. And so it became a lot for me to kind of handle going somewhere every Monday. And it just felt like I needed a break from that. So that's why I eventually had to take a break from that community. Just to focus on what I need to do for myself to grow. A lot of people know that I'm on a podcast, and the first thing they always ask me is never that question. They never ask me how it is to work. It never has come up one time. Absolutely, it's never come up one time. But I'll tell you how it is to work with Marina Franklin. Marina is I admire Marina a lot because she's very consistent about in the ways that get you to improve on things. You got to be consistent and show up. And so she's very dedicated to anything that she does, whether it's dancing. She goes to her spot every Wednesday. She's there. She's a great dancer.
Thank you.
And I really mean that. And in her podcast, she's very dedicated to that and what she wants. And so it's very admirable to see that, and to work with somebody that is that dedicated and that consistent. I think as a person growing up, that's what you want in, like, your parent. That's what you want in your mentors and your teachers, to be very consistent and you know what to expect. I don't mean it in the way that it was paternal, because she's so childish. As an individual, but she's very, very good to work with in that way. I enjoy working with Marina and getting to know her. Actually, when you're in this community of comedy, and it's not that many women in comedy, I knew of Marina before we actually got together and eventually started working together and being on this podcast. So it was also a chance to get to know her a little bit better and understand her as an individual. So she gave me this opportunity, and I felt like something that just happened. The first day I was on the podcast, we just had this nice little rapport. And then next week she said, "Come back on the podcast." And I was like, I was just on it. She's like, "Just come back on." And I came back on, and the next week she's like, "Come back on the podcast." I'm like, "But I was just on." She's like, "Come back on." And so we just became just a regular. I will be coming back. I absolutely will be coming back. And thank you again for the many people that have hit me up and said, "I miss you on the podcast." Trust me, I missed you too. I promise you, I missed you too. So. Actually, this guy just introduced me. My name is so simple that you can get it wrong, because people say Pam Brown all the time, and the other day a guy introduced me as Pat Smith, and I was like, dude, I can see you getting the Pat wrong, but I'm literally the incarnate of Brown. You can't fuck that up. So I will be coming back on the podcast when Marina wants me to, and I will be back. And I enjoy you people, and I enjoy these conversations. I think they're very important for everybody. I mean, not just for people of color, but for non-people, the people that really want color in their life.
Even cats.
Marina thinks Billy listens to her podcast. He does not.
He watches TV.
He does not. She is in complete denial. No animals watch this podcast. And this is funny. This is interesting. I have a friend that we kind of dated a little bit, but she found me on this podcast, and so we dated a little bit or whatever. And so, but we still remain friends. And so I was asking her. She's like, I was listening to podcasts the other day, and I was like, so you still listen to podcasts? And I'm not on it, and you don't listen to it? She's like, yeah, I said, when I was off the podcast, you're supposed to stop listening to podcasts because I'm not on the podcast. She's like, no, I don't know. It's a good podcast. I was like, yeah, it is a good podcast. So that's just funny that this is a good podcast, and it makes my people that love me still love the podcast. Because they continue to listen even when I'm not on it. So that's how good this podcast is. Doesn't have anything to do with me. It's this collection of ideas, people, and everything that makes this thing really, really a special, special place to be. Am I done now? Can I get my check?
That's it.
All right. No check.
Say goodbye.
I want cash.
Bye.
This is how I flip money when I'm at the strip clubs.
Pat Brown is back.